This is the Reconstructed Man Podcast, and I'm your host, Layne Ingram. The Reconstructed Man Podcast is a place where we explore the transgender experience, yes, we, you, and me, by sharing our stories and lifting up the voices of others. It's for everybody, trans, cis, and everywhere in between. This show is about building community and connections, and I am so glad that you're here. So today is a special day for me. I told you in episode 1 that I'd be having some incredible guests on, and today I'm so excited about who's here. 2 of my aunts are here, and I actually can't believe they said yes. You know, sometimes I just ask people stuff to see what they'll say, and interestingly enough, these 2 have actually never said no. So today, the majority of the show is going to be centered around these 2 amazing people and their views and their experiences as part of my transition. I'm interested in hearing what they have to say. I'm interested in their first reactions, if they had a secret group chat. Honestly, what impact this had on their lives and kind of how they see things. But before we get into all of that, let me give you a chance to meet them and hear a little about them. So joining me today are my Aunt Gina and my Aunt Krissa. Little family history for you. My mom has 4 brothers and 1 sister, and so these 2 aunts are married to 2 of my mom's brothers. And really in all my years of knowing them, I mean more than 20 at least, obviously, maybe 20, more than 25, I've just never considered them to be in-law aunts. I mean, it's not really been a thing to me. They're just my aunts and they're wonderful. So let's start with Aunt Krissa. Welcome to the show. Say hi. Tell us where you're from, what you do, if you can, and why you said yes to coming on the podcast.
Okay, I am Krissa, and I am a therapist, psychotherapist. I specialize in trauma therapy and substance use, and why I said yes. I said yes because I want to support Layne, and because it's good for me to push out of my comfort zone. So this is pushing my comfort zone for sure.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah.
So Aunt Krissa is like a family favorite. Every single one of my cousins thinks that she's amazing, and she is. I think also we all kind of like get secret sessions out of you, like out of nowhere. You know, like we always kind of find a way to bring up what's going on. So okay, Aunt Gina, it's your turn. Same thing. Tell me where you're from, what you do, if you can, and why you said yes.
Hello, I'm Gina Jackson, and I am from Maryland, by way of Ghana, West Africa. Woohoo! And I said yes because I wanted not only to support Layne, but Layne supported me as well with requests that I have asked. And so I thought this would be interesting and a learning opportunity.
Awesome. Aunt Gina is our love aunt. That's when I think of Aunt Gina. She's like our love aunt. You know, she always sends a message that you know she's thinking about you or calls and like puts all these hearts. She's like my love aunt. So I love and appreciate you both. I think this is about to get interesting. So we'll be back to them in a minute. On this season, I've added some new segments, and since you're here, you're gonna help me to do them. The first thing I've been doing is things that I love and hate about being trans. And so this month, the thing that I love about being trans is that Trans Awareness Week is in November every year, and it leads right up to my birthday, and which my birthday is November 20th, if you want to write that down. And I'll accept anything Michigan Wolverines, PFG, or Bass Pro Shops. Okay, but the 20th of November is also Trans Day of Remembrance, and so before I knew I was trans, like that was my birthday, and that was that date, and so I don't know, I kind of believe in like connection-y stuff like that, and so to be trans and to have Trans Day of Remembrance following my birthday is something that I don't know. I love about that. It reminds me to be thankful for what I have and who I am, and to keep fighting for everybody that's coming back behind me. So, for my aunts, a question for you: did you know that November 20th was my birthday?
No,
Oh my God.
I knew November,
I'm bad with birthdays.
Oh my God.
and I'm actually good, but I knew November, just not the pinpoint of the date.
So now they know. I didn't think they were gonna say no. I thought they were gonna be like, yes, of course. But now I think they'll make up for it. Okay.
Oh, most
Yeah.
definitely.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So next question: did you know that there was such a thing as Trans Awareness Week or Trans Day of Remembrance?
No.
I knew there was Trans Awareness Week. I did not know there was Trans Remembrance.
Yeah.
I know.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So Trans Awareness Week, I didn't know either until 6 years ago. You know what I mean? But like, so it's actually really cool. I mean, it's the week leading up to November 20th, and it's all about raising awareness of, like, past trans trailblazers, things that have happened, Stonewall, it's time to raise awareness. And then Trans Day of Remembrance basically looks back on the people that we've lost over the course of the year. And it's a terrible day, when you think about what it means. But like, for me, it reminds me to be very grateful and very thankful of where I'm at, and for you too. Okay, interesting. You learned something new. Trans Awareness Week. Okay, so moving on to what I hate about being trans. And as a disclaimer, I don't really hate anything about it. Like, I mean, how could I? It is amazing to be me. But if I had to pick something, I guess this time would be like when I'm talking to somebody and they find a way to work in the topic of pronouns or gender in the conversation, like, or like to reference how it's impacted them. Like, so if I haven't seen you in a long time and you're like, oh, you know what? I work with somebody who's trans or non-binary, and I really have been working on my pronouns. And it's like, I don't care, but cool. Like, you're excelling at speaking English and also at respecting people. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of hate that about being trans when people know. So question to my aunts. What are your thoughts on using people's pronouns? And do you feel like it was a difficult adjustment for you to make with me? Anybody?
Yes, I find it difficult with regards to you. And I believe one of the reasons is I've known you. And I'm trying very hard to make sure that I respect you as an individual. There are times where it slips, and I'm like, oh, goodness. And it's not done intentionally or maliciously. I just, I guess I think about the past, but I also know that I have to look towards the future and know that this is what it is and we have to move forward. So, yes, it's difficult, and it's difficult because I don't want to offend you or disrespect you, and I don't know how you perceive it because we've never engaged in that conversation. So it makes me a little bit uneasy, to be honest.
Wow. That's so interesting because, I think I can't speak for all trans people, but like for me, you can tell when somebody messes up and there's no malicious intent, or, it just happens, or they don't see you very often, or like, I mean, you can tell when people are doing things on purpose, or it's willful, or it's ignorant. I mean, I've never felt that way, but it was interesting to hear you say it's difficult because of the past, because like I know that, but to hear somebody say, like, I could actually see you seeing me, you know what I mean? And so when you talk to somebody about cognitive dissonance, right? So it's been 6 years for me, and it's been 6 years for the people that are here in town with me. And so I think I probably give them less grace at this point. But it's a good reminder for me when talking to someone like you, one of my aunts who loves me and has been supportive from the beginning, to hear your struggle and why. And it really is just I'm just me. So that was interesting. Okay, what about you, Aunt Krista?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about this last night before you even kind of told me about the questions. But it is hard. I think the hardest thing for me, just in general, is getting consistency with the pronouns. So, in as I think of it, it's more just a habit. The habits that we have in our brain, and it's interesting because I notice, like, if I see somebody else getting around, I'm like right on it. Like it bothers me, and I see it, and I want to correct them, and then so then when it happens to me, I think I catch it, but I think I don't catch it quite as quick. And then, and this is where the other layer came in. It doesn't fit like he fits absolutely. And so when I get it wrong, and then I think I catch it because it no longer fit.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like it's so
You
I
know,
think
things are catching up.
right,
Yeah.
right. So I think for the most part, I'm better at it now, but it has been it took some intentional energy to have to kind of flip it, and now I'm kind of in that middle. Well, I'm not in the middle. I think I'm 90% probably like with the correct pronouns, but it does when I catch it. It's like oh yeah, that's not right, but it takes me a minute. I don't
This is
you know?
wild because I would like to tell you both, just from me, I can't myself recall a time where I feel like you've made a mistake to me. And so I'm hearing your anguish. I mean, I'm hearing your anguish, and yeah, you know, part of the transition is you obviously know the impact that you're having on your family. Like obviously, like you can't do this and not impact them. You can't do this without changing dynamics in their life and how they might be viewed or what. I mean, you know what I mean, like, and I know that. And I think as time passes for me, it makes it harder to realize and remember that even though people are doing a great job or they're supporting you like that, it is hard. Like I have forgotten that, and the reason why I've forgotten it is because I've had to get so hard with the social media that's out there, with the misinformation, with the attacks on these kids. And so I've forgotten that. I mean, because looking at people like you who just love me, you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel you struggling. And so that's a testament to how great you're doing. But I think it's so important for these people to hear your side of it versus my side, too. I mean, I don't feel that way, and I appreciate the anguish you're going through. I wish you wouldn't give yourself such a hard time because, honestly, so much of this is just about, like, love, really. I mean, it's just about how do we treat each other, you know? Okay, wow. Yeah, this is going to be a great show. I mean, I knew I picked the right answer. They're so smart and talky. Okay, before we get to the main questions and stuff that I want to talk about, there's one little thing that I do. There's one last thing I do. It's called You Never Guess What Happened. And so last episode, I talked about, I was in Walgreens, and this guy, he didn't speak very good English. He was like, hey, can you help me find the condoms? But anyway, that happened to me, and it was ridiculous. So anyway, this one's not so much funny as it is sad. So about a week and a half ago now, my cat Toby died, and like around 1 a.m. and he got sick, and I took him to the vet, and I was just expecting it to be a long time and cost a lot of money, and that we just bring him home and it would be you got to give him the medicine, and that just didn't happen. And so I had him for 16 and a half years, and he was just such a great cat, and I miss him every day. And so I don't know. I'm sharing that because I can't believe it happened, but also I just want to remind everybody that I just am alive as a human in the world that has a pet that I love, and sometimes they die, and it's just so sad. It's a hard time for me and my family outside of being trans and people not wanting me to make my own choices in my healthcare. I'm just a regular human, and so that happened, and I'm sad, and I miss Toby, and so I don't know. I just want to say that. So, do either of you guys have pets? Have you lost any?
I just, recently, not recently, but I have not lost a pet.
That's good.
I have, yeah. I am always surprised with how impactful it is. It surprises me every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's always some sort of almost self-judgment or well, it was just an animal, but it is, I truly think the power that we feel just is represented in the love that we
Absolutely.
have. Yeah.
No, yeah, this time, so I had you probably remember my dog Chauncey. You guys remember Chauncey? So I had Chauncey for 15 years, and that was I got him when I was a kid. I was 21 years old. And when I lost Chauncey, I was in grief counseling. That was devastating. And so this time around, I knew that it was going to suck so bad. And also I knew that it mattered, and I didn't care really if people thought anything about it because I mean, I had that mug for 16 and a half years. That's a long time of your life, you know? And so that was sad. Anyway, that took a turn. I got all dreary. But that happened. Yeah.
I just want to say the animals that like there is no, it's so non-judgmental, the love that we have. It is sometimes only the pure, pure love that we really ever experience sometimes in our life. It's nice.
This is why Aunt Krista is who she is, because she gets it. I'm telling you right now. The thing I used to say about Chauncey is like, he taught me what love really was. I mean, like that dog. I mean, like, you saw me at my worst times. You saw me at my best times. And the thing that is really hard for me to think about is he never got to see me do this, And that might sound weird to people, but I mean, Chauncey was my guy and was my dog, and he would have been proud. He would have been like, look at you doing what you're doing. So, yeah. Okay. Whew. All right. So what I've been waiting for, because I've just been talking a lot, I want people to get to know you more and hear from you. So, okay, right from the beginning, let's just like jump right into it. Okay. Like, you're not going to bore the people with my confused chronicles of the first 36 years. We'll jump right into, hey, everybody, I'm trans. Okay, so Aunt Gina, you first. Tell me everything. Where were you, if you remember? Who told you? And what was your reaction when you learned that I was coming out as trans? Okay, before you answer, I need everybody to know I don't know the answer to anything that they're going to say. Like, I'm nervous.
Well, I know I was home. I know it was a phone call. I'm not certain who called or who said. I don't know, but I heard it, and I was like, okay, what is going on? What's happening here? And the regret that I have is I didn't pick up the phone to call you. I was just like, okay, all right. What does that mean? And that was it for me. I felt for you because I knew what you went through. Well, from my lenses, what you went through coming out, and so it wasn't like, oh, I'm sad for Layne, but it was more so, oh my goodness, the family. And I just didn't know what was going to happen next.
Right. Well, I guess I have to say something real quick before I let you answer it, Krista, because I didn't do a great job with the extended family, sort of by design though. Like when I think back on it, like that's one of the things that I think about in how I came out. But like the thing is, so just to give everybody like a really short version, like with my extended family outside of my siblings, my parents, like kind of the people that I see all the time, like we have a huge family. Outside of those people who I told in person, I basically sent out a group text and was like, this is what, this article is going to come out. And I did that for a couple of reasons. Like at the time, I wasn't going to be doing any explaining, like it felt like I needed to have that moment of like, I finally know something, like this is right, and it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. I'm just letting you know, like you can come on the ride and love me, or you can be doing your own thing. And part of me, like I'm okay with everything that I did, but part of me when I look back, like of course I would have liked to call and whatever, but I also wasn't willing to risk anything negative at all. I wasn't willing to risk it because I knew it was right, and I had to come out again to my parents, and I had to, you know what I mean? And so I just want to preface it with that. Like I didn't love the way that I did that with that part of my family, but also it was like, it's not about, like, I can't be worried about you right now, Anyway, so I just wanted to say that because, you don't even, like, it should have been me that called you, But I mean, there's a lot of people, do you know what I mean? For you to say, I don't know who called.
But it didn't matter to me, You made a decision, and my concern wasn't the decision that you made. My concern was the family and knowing what you have experienced. And I only know a little bit of what you had experienced in the past, only a little bit of what I had seen. And, I knew I would have a hard time.
Sure.
So that was my concern, you know. And
Were you concerned about the impact it would have on Layne? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Right.
That-
Like how,
Yes.
how it would
Yes.
turn around. See,
Yeah.
that was why too. Like it didn't this time. It did not matter. You know, I mean, obviously I was like way older, 36. Like I'm on my own, but it was finally right. You know, it just didn't matter, and I was just gonna be me. So wow, man, you give yourself a hard time, Aunt Gina.
well, yes and no. Yes, because like I said, I was thinking about, how things were, what was going to happen. But I also, to be honest with you, and maybe I might be wrong in saying this, but I felt you were bitter. I felt you were bitter. So even if I felt like calling, I knew you probably may not have received me at that time.
Sure. Yeah.
So I didn't. So I just minded my business.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I mean, it feels like it was right though, cause look, I don't know. You gotta get. I don't know. Okay, and Chris, what about you?
Um,
You got them all. Where were you? Who told you?
Yeah, no, I got it all, and I'm glad I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember how I found out. So this sounds very anticlimactic, but and I also want to start out with, I never thought like, oh, I wish Layne would have told me. I didn't get the sense Gina did either. Like as far as kind of looking at the past and saying
Right.
maybe I could have. Like I don't think there's any. I think how you did it was probably ideal. I don't know. Yeah, like how else could you do?
Right.
This is so as you just now said, this is how I did it. That must have been how I found out. I think it was the group text, and now that you're saying that, I'm like, I don't have a great memory, but yeah, and then I asked both my children, like after you sent the questions out, and I'm like, hey, do you remember me talking? Because part of it was like, how did you tell your children? And I know I did, and all of us were like, so this we were all pretty like, oh, okay, yeah, well, good for Layne, kind of like it. So it felt right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know it had been a tough path for you, just in terms of figuring out who you are and to get to this point that I think as I'm feeling it and noticing it, like it felt like, oh, good, kind of like I'm sure there is, like, we don't know what's going to happen as far, like, I don't know the technology and,
Right.
and all the medical stuff. So that was like, that's interesting. I hope it is, more like, I hope it all goes smooth but you seemed like it was right. Like it felt like the fit,
Right.
it felt right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think kind of like what Gina was saying, it was like, I was hoping you were okay, but I was also, you and I have, I think you've known I've always loved you, and I know you, so I knew that was there, and I wasn't talking to you on a regular basis, so I just trusted that if you needed something, you would
Right.
reach out to the people that you felt you could, and I think I was pretty happy for you, and
And you were just gonna be you. You're just gonna be you
yeah,
when you saw
yeah,
me. Yeah.
yeah,
You're just gonna be like, hey.
yeah.
No, yeah, that's something. Okay. So what about? So there's 4 brothers, 2 sisters, and then there's my dad, you two, my other Aunt Kim, Aunt Michelle, right? So there could be a decent little group chat. So like, is there a sibling in-law group chat? Like, do you guys have that?
No.
You don't have a, okay. Do they have a group chat? Like the Jackson kids?
Not that I know of.
I've always been my husband has never been a communicator, and I've never, he just is not. So if there is one, I was never part of it.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
forget. Okay.
Yeah.
See, this is just showing kind of maybe our age gaps, because I feel like there should be a group chat, because I want to know. Okay, so then I guess I have to rephrase my question for your time period era.
Wow.
Did you guys like get on the phone and do a 3-way call, and there was no gossip between people?
Not that I knew of.
No. I mean, there was within, like, I told my, within our immediate family, in term, not gossip, but
Right.
like, hey, this is happening. But other than that, there was, I'm closer with you than I am
Right.
actually with your
Right.
parents, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know.
Interesting.
I was, no, I didn't get any of that. So, no, it's hard to get things out of the Jackson men
There you
anyway.
go.
Period. So, I mean, if I probably didn't find out till maybe weeks later or so, I don't know, but it's always like pulling teeth. So, no.
Wow. Okay. So let's talk about your family units. Okay. So what were those conversations like? Like did you feel like, because I don't I probably sent a group text to my cousins, but I can't recall that one like I can recall the one to the extended family. So did you have conversations like did you feel like you had to talk to your kids about it?
I I think it was it was the time of their lives where they were, I'm trying, so 6 years ago, kind of high school, when there was a lot of shifting and changing happening. So I remember having conversations about, just gayness and Pride Fest and different things, and I think there was already some shifting and maturity going on their end, and um, so again, I asked both of them, and they were unfazed.
Yes.
They really were.
Yes.
Like there was like,
Like, get with the program. Okay,
Yeah,
now what?
yeah.
Right.
Which was kind of striking. I
Yeah.
think
They're incredible.
Yeah.
I think they'll save us. I mean, it just is very, like Avery, that's my kid, for everybody that doesn't know. I mean, it's just like, he's not going for any nonsense against any demographic of people. You know what I mean? They're just very, why would we talk about this person this way? They could just live their life, which I think is great. Wow. Okay. Well, wow. So Bree and Jazz were just like, okay.
Yeah, they weren't phased either. I thought I was, bringing some news.
Right. Right.
Okay. So I don't know if it had already been communicated to them. Like you said, you probably reached out to them. I don't know. But they weren't phased. They weren't surprised.
Right.
No.
That's something. Wow. The reason this is just all so interesting. I mean, everybody lives everywhere. You know what I mean? Like Minnesota, Colorado at the time, Baltimore. And you're just all over the place. And so different pockets of families. You just wonder. Okay, so how do you think my coming out has affected or changed the family, if you do at all?
This is tough because I haven't really communicated with anyone in the family other than speaking about pronouns.
It's just a thing that happened and it just is.
It's a thing that happened. How did it affect the family?
Or do you think it has? I mean, maybe it hasn't.
No, I do think it has. I just don't know to what capacity, because I feel like it's not something that it's talked about. I can't have, no one says much, so I don't say much either.
It doesn't feel open.
Yes,
to
it
talk
doesn't,
about,
or
for sure.
even safe to say anything. It's just like,
Like, what would you say? What would you say? Because go. Answer that first. What would you say? If you felt like you could walk in and talk about whatever you wanted as it relates to this or me, what would you say?
I would want to come to you first.
Yeah.
And the reason why I would want to communicate with you is because there's a lack of understanding on my part. So how do I go and start something with the family when I don't understand myself?
Oh.
And unless I've gone to the source, I feel like I don't have any right to say anything. I just don't.
I don't know. I feel like you're in. I mean, your nephew is trans. You can kind of make jokes about it. Like, you're in. I'm kidding, but I mean, you kind of can though. But I mean, it just is like, well, okay, let's start there before we go to Anchor. So, what would you ask me if you could? What do you want to know?
I would just say, explain it to me. Explain everything to me. No, and because I don't know, and I haven't, I guess, sought out to find out. I don't know what it is. I haven't. I've worked with one trans person, and it was easy. I didn't think of Kathleen as anything but Kathleen.
Because you met her as Kathleen?
Yes,
Yeah.
so nothing fazed me about that.
Mm-hmm.
Kathleen was just a human being that I loved. She was a communication person. We interacted, and that was it.
Kathleen.
Kathleen,
Yeah.
you know? So, and I wasn't comfortable to even ask Kathleen anything because I didn't want to. We were colleagues, so I didn't want to step on any toes. Maybe she would have said something. I don't know, but um, unless like right now, or you have said that, hey, ask me anything,
Yeah.
and but I never knew how genuine that was. Is it possible for me to ask you anything?
Right. I mean, I try to write it all on my blog, and I do this podcast. I tell everybody.
You
I
know,
would certainly tell you.
I'm challenged when it comes to all that.
No, I mean, I'm saying I would certainly tell you.
No, yes,
I mean-
yes, and you've shared some things with me, but I'm not comfortable.
Yeah.
So certain things I'll ask, certain things I won't.
Yeah.
I can remember after you went through your surgery, and you were like, "Oh, that was the bane of my existence," and and I can remember wanting to go further, but that was not the place to have that conversation. And we're only together in
Right.
like events or celebrations. It's not appropriate in my eyes.
Yeah. You're so hard on yourself too. I mean, it's like, I don't know. Where were you at my first like 2.5 years? All I wanted to talk about was this dang transition. Like all I wanted to talk about was like, do you see this whisker that is growing on my
No,
beard?
you did say that, and I was
but
like,
mean-
yes, you
but
look
I just-
handsome.
But I just mean, do you know what I mean? I have no problem sharing, and also telling you something or telling Aunt Chris something means that when you're in a space the next time with somebody else, do you know what I mean? Like it just is. It's raising awareness, is raising your level of knowledge about the issue so that you can share. Like you could actually share. Well, actually, that's not true. My nephew is actually, you know what I mean? So you can ask me anything.
But even when I did that, remember when I asked you to speak, I was nervous. I was nervous because I said to myself, "Oh my gosh, Gina, you committed someone, and it's your nephew, and you haven't even shared with your nephew that this is going to happen.
Right.
And what if he says no?" So I was extremely nervous when I called you, and I'm just being honest.
I can't believe that.
And when you were like, "Oh, for you, Aunt Gina, yes," I was like,
Yeah, that is really
So-
something. Dang, so man, I must not be giving off the I just love you so much and you can ask me
"No,
anything.
you do that. Please don't think you don't.
You're just hard on yourself.
There's a lot of unknowns for me, and one thing I will not do is disrespect people,
Sure.
Or disrespect my family, my loved one. So it's hard to do that, for me.
Wow. Okay, over to you, Aunt Kay. How do you think it's affected the family?
Oh, I mean, how could it not? Yeah, absolutely, it has. I mean, it's for me, I don't know. I think I'm quite present. I think people see me as quite liberal and quite out there, like and so that's already part of my deal. And so I think the thing that happens in the family systems. My own family system for my biological family too, as well as the Jackson, is there's lots of things that people are uncomfortable talking about, and I think that being trans is and like that is one of the biggest ones, right? So absolutely it impacts the family, and I see it, and then but I don't know that it gets swept under the rug. Lots of people put a lot of energy into having things not seem like they've been impacted when they have. And so that's kind of, I don't, like I know my immediate family has, as far as like an understanding of why and the rationale and the religiosity that might go along with it, that's, in the system too. It's complex. And how, if like grandmommy says she, how do I stop and correct her, those sorts of things, like where do you for me, it's like, okay, is this something that I'm helping sweep under the rug, or is this an appropriate place to jump in and then, cause a conflict or cause my husband to then be seen as married to this crazy woman that just can't shut up, that swears all the time, all these things. So that it's interesting. It's been an interesting process kind of seeing the ripples.
This is so wild just to hear other people's take on the family dynamics and how it seems. And I'm trying to separate how much of it is your own individual, what you also bring to the equation and how you feel, and how much of it is happening, because all of our perception is what it is. But it's like, wow, to me, okay, I feel like, and I think it's changed over the course of these 6 years. To me, when I came out guns blazing, I wasn't going for anything. Like I knew, and so I take up so much space with that already to me. Like I'm just like, you've brought this, you're not going to be ashamed of it, you're just gonna be alive, right? Like, so I'm just me all the time with the family. And so on that end of it, it's like, all right, I'm just alive and it's all fine. People are doing better with the pronouns. They're saying it right. We're all just getting along. You can be here. Your family's here. And I guess it doesn't ever feel like to me there isn't space to talk about it. It feels like I've started to, I don't know how to say it right, but maybe I've started to get off the what is there to talk about? You know what I mean? Like, let's just be alive, and I'm just me and you're just you. But we don't ever talk about it. It's just interesting to hear people that aren't here all the time come into the space where we're all interacting and feel that way. I mean, it
feels better than it has been.
Yeah.
And I'm, like Gina said, I don't see you that often, and then when we do, it's usually there's so much going on. Yeah. So I have never felt like you were not, open to me asking any questions. I think I'm sometimes not good at just staying in contact with people. That's something
it's real. What we have going on in our family dynamic is real, and there's that to it. One of my uncles said to me something to the effect of like I made it easier sort of for everybody that comes behind me because I mean, the one thing that I do hope, what you all should also know is I'm much older than like the majority of my cousins. There's 16 of us or so, and my siblings are my closest, and the next ones are like 20 years younger than me. So the one thing I do hope for them, though, is you 100% be exactly who you are and bring that, and that's 100% okay, at least with me. And know that you always have somebody that's going to be behind you. I mean, that's what I hope all of my little cousins know about me. And, there were some crap times, and some terrible things, but none of them will have to do that, like, ever. I mean, we you know what I mean? So, I think that's something.
It's huge. Something. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, here's a question for you. So, because people worry about this. So, over the last 6 or so years since I came out, how many times can you recall me actively trying to get other people to be trans? Or like, trying to persuade somebody this is the way. I mean, I guess based on what you're saying, we never talk about it, so probably never. But, I mean, people worry about that, right? Like, what do you think of that notion even?
I think it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean,
people have free will to do what they want to do. So, I mean, it's absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to reread it. I'm like, I had to reread it again, like a double take. I'm like, what? Is that a real question?
It's not a thing that happens.
But no, it's not a thing that happens, and I think it's ludicrous that people think it's an issue. But it is. There's crazy people out there.
It's like, I guess, there's a lot of kids in my life, and I think what being trans helps me to do as an adult is to know that kids are kids. And we don't know what they're going to be. I mean, I didn't know at 36, is when I knew. And so just as like kids need the space to be exactly who they are and know that they are just loved. I mean, I don't care what you are. And I don't care what you are. And so I don't know. I just thought that was important because
Have you bumped into that personally, like people not feeling safe with you being around kids?
no,
Okay.
no, but like
Okay.
social media everywhere. I mean, they,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's
Like
kind of the theme. All
it's
right.
it's nonsensical. And it's like, no, it's like the whole, you know, if you read about somebody in a book, or if you go to a drag show, or if you go to Pride,
Right.
or these kids are going to be influenced by what they, you know what I mean? It just is like, no, I didn't know anything about trans people as a kid. I didn't know any gay people as I knew, and all I knew was that you're gonna go to hell. Like, and here I am. You know, I mean, there's nothing. There's not. I mean, if a person is trans, like they're just trans. There's not not anything you can. It is what it is. But yeah, okay. Well, listen, I have one last thing I want to ask you, or I want you to tell everybody, each of you, okay? So, tell me what you've learned, or how it's impacted you, or changed your view on things, in terms of me coming out, or having a nephew who's trans, or you know, this whole last 6 year period. Like, what have you learned? How has it impacted you, or anything else you want to share?
Well, this past 6 years, what have I learned? I've learned I don't know much. I've learned I need to communicate more. I've learned I need to um, not be afraid to ask crucial questions. I've learned to continue to love my family, the good, the bad, the ugly, love my family. Um, I've also learned that we are all human beings first, and I'm bringing religion into this. God loves everyone, everyone, and we're all sinners in any capacity, everything we do. So no one should judge. No one should judge. And most of all, I've learned that you have to be happy. And if you're happy, I'm happy.
That's so okay. Before we go to the end, it's like we could do a whole another 20 minutes on that combination of just the love plus let me bring in religion, because a lot of people like myself have scars,
Oh,
you know,
most definitely.
and the the reason why, you know, the reason why it's such a interesting dynamic is because of the religion aspect of our family, and the people who, you know, live that way, feel that conflict with their, you know, religion and feelings and stuff like that. And I mean, that's hard for people to overcome. And so I've been somewhat lucky in that people can, you know what I mean? Like before, I'd say you have, you know, people are trying to stomach it, you know, and now I think as more time passes, people see that that I'm just me. But I mean, that's such a huge part of it, because you're allowed to be you. Like you believe what you believe, girl, you know? But I mean, it's like, we could do 20 more minutes on that. Thanks for saying it. What you got?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the religion piece is a powerful thread for sure, and I think I've just family history. Like the couple times I've bumped up against that was scary a bit, you know. So I have, I think, retracted and kind of keep my distance a little bit, and I also see how that it's easy for me to do that, and some people can't, you know, like you were stuck in some of that system. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I just wanted to say that what I have. So the thing that you know, just you know, my other side of the family, I have a transgender, has not gone through any medical procedures, but has done some hormone therapy on my other side. So I have somebody who's born a nephew and is now identifying as female, and you know, and is having, you know, it's a challenging process, and it's only part of their life and there's other things going on. But at the time, like as hard as, just seeing that in that family system, I was so grateful. You were awesome. And just, and so the, you kind of talk about you kind of paving the way here for like, you have like just knowing that I just have been very grateful that I have been part of this process, even if it's not super close along the way, but I do feel
part
close
of
to
it.
you. You've been authentic. You've been so brave in kind of sharing your, just like you just talked about with Toby and Chauncey. Like you are gifted at sharing yourself in ways that really support people that are struggling. And I got to see that really close and personal on both sides of the family, and you going through that and being able to help Natalie has just been so I'm just eternally grateful for that.
I love that. No, that's what it's about. I don't know what it would have been like if I had realized sooner, I mean, that's a hard one for me. I mean, I'm thankful and grateful for my life and my experiences, but I mean, wow, just like so much time lost in nonsense when I think back. And these kids that know, or I call, like if you're 20, you're like a kid to me now, which is crazy. But I mean, these kids that know, I mean, I feel a little jealous sometimes. I mean, it's like very amazing that you'll have more of your life to live as you than the other. I mean, I have to make it to 72 to get to halfway. So yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, geez, this was fantastic. You have anything else you want to tell these people at all? Anything else? I love both of my aunts. There's so much more we could talk about. Might have to do a part two. Might have to do a part two.
Well, thank you for all you do. I mean, just the advocacy, and I mean that it's you just don't even know how many people it touches. So I mean, just this work and yeah, you're.
If it helps one person, that's what I used to say. If it helps one person, and I met a person in at this thing in Miami that it had helped. I mean, it's like a heart explosion moment, just because it's important to know that you could be okay. Like if people all around you or in your life aren't supportive, or you don't, you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and like just seeing me makes you think that maybe there's a way for you to make it, and yeah, there's a way for you to make it. And you two coming on here and talking as openly as you did is important. I mean, family is huge and it's hard, and so I appreciate you so much, and I love you very much.
I do have a question.
Okay.
You can be outside of this. Do you feel that we supported you throughout the process, the external family?
Yeah, see, the thing is, I also think I felt okay sending that text because you all loved me. I mean, that's, like, I didn't love that I did it that way, but I also think I knew it would be okay. And one of my other aunts who is from Baltimore, I didn't have her on the show because I thought she was going to be out of town. So Aunt Kim, I really love you. I would have asked you. Okay, I thought you were going to be gone. I remember when I came out to her the first time. Like this is like a core memory in my life. And she just was so perfect. Just like, I love you, and like it's gonna be okay, and I got you. And like I was young, and like she was still kind of relatively new-ish, it felt like. And it just was, I mean, she was like the first person I told. And I'm saying that because like that's how I feel about you all that I put on that text. I mean, I feel safe, and I feel like you got me, And the other part of it that I had that a lot of people don't have because of, their age or their circumstances is I cared, but I also didn't because I couldn't, you know what I mean? And so, like, I had that going for me too, but I knew it was going to be okay, and it has been. So yes, the answer is yes. I mean, I've never felt like you didn't accept me, and I never felt like you didn't love me, and I never felt like you were going to try to talk me out of it, or like I never felt any negativity from you at all, and I appreciate that because it matters. I mean, I talk a lot about being older and like grown and out of the house, but I was a kid and you were my aunt. I mean, it still matters. And so I appreciate it, especially knowing that people don't get it, you know?
Got it.
So, yes. All right. Okay. Well, again, thank you again for coming on and sharing your thoughts and your feelings. Um, it is important for people to hear what it's like inside a family, and to know that people will support them and love them. And so I just can't thank you enough for taking the time. I really can't. On the next episode, I will be digging into questions on trans issues from the internet, looking back on my decision to come out publicly, if I do it all again, and what, if anything, I would change. Also, be on the lookout for a new blog at therightlayne.blog. It's called It's All a Blur. If you want to talk to me or share your story or experiences on the show, send me an email at thereconstructedman@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter at the RM Podcast. Thanks for listening. Go to thereconstructedman.com for videos and resources, or if you just want to know what I'm doing or get in touch with me. Now keep doing you, because nobody can do you better than you can. I'm Layne Ingram, and this is the Reconstructed Man Podcast.